Hi everyone. Hang on just a second. Got to turn my computer down. Okay, there we go. Hi everyone. Just want to say welcome today to the live stream. There's lots of fun going on in the chat today. Camera guys in the chat moderating. Christy from Everything Sunflowers is not able to be here today. It is an absolutely gorgeous day today. I think one of the most beautiful days we've had so far this spring. It's about 75 today. Absolutely beautiful. I wanted to get out to the garden to live stream today, and I'm hoping that all the connections go well, because we have had a little bit of trouble once in a while. I'm connecting down in the garden. But I hope you guys are going to enjoy the live stream today. I'm super excited to talk a little bit about flowers. 3 of my favorite flowers that are super, super easy to start from seed. So we'll get into that in just a moment, but it's wonderful to be here. Thank you to those of you who are brand new. I know I do have a couple of brand new viewers on today, and I want to thank you for taking the time to join us. We are all about growing our own food, doing it in a quick, simple, inexpensive way, and having a lot of fun. So people usually show up in the chat about 15 minutes early, and we're really building some friendships together and supporting each other in our gardens. I absolutely love the fact that people are checking in on each other every single week. And I know there's people watching from all over the US. We have Deborah here from Arkansas, Mateo from Canada. Noelle is here. I'm not too sure where Noelle is from. Dolly, how are you, Dolly? Nice to have you here. Let's see, Patsella, awesome, great. Patsella's on here every single week. Shining Diamond Stables is here. California Garden TV is back. He's here every week as well, and many, many others. So I know there's lots of questions flying by. What I'm gonna do is talk about my favorite flowers. I'll talk about one, then I'll go into the chat, and I'll intersperse questions from the viewers here on the live stream in between talking about my favorite flowers. So first off, what I want to do though is talk about, or give a shout out to our viewer of the week. Every week we do this here on our live streams, a comment that really inspired me, usually that I pull from the comments from YouTube. And this one here is from the kids gardening video that we did a couple of weeks ago. And by the way, California Garden TV is on here, and we did the kids video with he and his son's friend. And I know that the garden that we planted, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, things are already sprouting, doing well. Planted in a little purple smart pots with the kids seed collection, and it is doing fantastic. So we're hoping to do a follow-up video over at his backyard very soon. So the comment, or the viewer of the week this week is Jean Brickley, and I was so inspired by her comment because she is really giving back to her community. So let me just read her comment. She says, my kids are grown, but I am doing gardening with the neighborhood kids. And I think that is absolutely amazing that she's raised her kids, they're grown and out of the house, but she's still giving back to her community by bringing the neighborhood kids in. This video has really turned up my excitement to get started. I live in zone 5, so we are starting with lettuce, which is a perfect crop to start with. Super easy and simple, and I like to call it the gateway vegetable. They are lettuce lovers. I have some winter sowing containers growing different kinds of lettuce. We're going to do bush cucumbers, cherry tomatoes, carrots, and beans. The kids are 6 years old. I have never heard of Good Dirt product and do not seed around here. Which, by the way, check your local Target stores, because a lot of times it's available, or they just recently came out in Target, or you can get it at good-dirt.com. The seed packets you've compiled sound very nice. Never thought about having them plant a sunflower. I think they will love that. I think I will also have them do some sugar snap peas. Roasted radishes, what a concept. Thank you for this video. So thank you so much, Jean, for inspiring us to grow not only with our own kids, but when your kids are grown and moved out, grow with whatever kids you can gather around in your neighborhood. Teach them about growing their own food. Use vegetables that are easy to grow, like lettuce, radishes, carrots, peas, and we have that big massive sunflower in the kids garden collection, and get them excited about growing their own food. And what a way to build relationships with the community. So Jean, thank you so much for inspiring us to reach out to our local community. Okay guys, I am so excited about today's topic because I absolutely love flowers, and I know a lot of you out there love them too. If you guys did did not see the video we posted yesterday, you've got to go over and watch it. Camera Guy and I were so inspired on Saturday. We had a chance to attend a wonderful garden industry event called the California Spring Trials, and I'm telling you guys, there were some absolutely stunning displays of flowers, and I came home super excited to get more color in the garden and to get some more flowers planted. So thanks to those of you that have watched. A lot of you are saying that you loved the video, that the colors were absolutely amazing. Nikki, that's wonderful. You're teaching neighborhood kids as well. I absolutely love to hear that. So guys, there are so many wonderful reasons to grow flowers. The biggest of which is just the beauty and the color. I mean, we are growing our gardens not only for food, but also for our enjoyment. Just to enjoy being outside. The bright pops of color just brings such joy to my heart. I love walking through the garden and seeing beautiful displays of color like are right behind me with the nasturtiums. It's just so inspiring, and it just brings peace and joy to our hearts. But besides that, of course, the flowers bring in the pollinators, the butterflies, the bees, the beneficial insects, which really help our gardens grow so much better and help us get some amazing harvests. So, you know, however you can get incorporate flowers into your vegetable garden, your vegetables are going to be so much more productive because of it. And you're just going to feel the joy and peace in your heart from seeing the flowers around. Besides that, the cut flowers make really nice gifts. I know I've had the chance to bring some over the past few years, not quite yet this year because my flowers aren't in full bloom, but over to my neighbors, to friends who maybe aren't having such a great day, or someone who's sick, or just to cut flowers and bring them into our own house for the beauty. So many reasons to grow flowers. One of my very favorite flowers to grow, and one of the super easiest flowers in the world to grow from seed, is the flower right behind me. I know a lot of you love growing that flower too, and that is nasturtiums. They're absolutely gorgeous. I mean, when you guys look at those colors, the brilliant, bright oranges, they also, there's so many colors of nasturtiums. There's yellow ones, burgundy ones, multicolored ones. They are just the most beautiful flower, and I love growing them. Now, a few little things about nasturtiums. They do like the cooler weather better, so the spring is the perfect time to get them planted. Once the weather hits around 75 or 80 degrees, they kind of poop out. So they dry up, and they don't do as well in hot temperatures. So if you are in this, well, we're all in the springtime, unless you're in the southern hemisphere, but coming into spring, get nasturtiums planted as soon as you can. Really, you want to wait till after the last frost because they are frost sensitive. They really like temperatures of around 50 to about 75 to 80 degrees. They do really thrive well in those temperatures. If you can, plant them in the sun. They're going to get many more blooms if you plant them in the sun, but they will do okay in the shade. Right here behind me is a shaded place. It gets morning sun and then some late afternoon sun. And they're blooming absolutely beautifully. It's about 75 degrees out today, which is one of the warmer days that we've had so far. And you can see they're absolutely looking lovely. Now, let me just show you the nasturtium seeds. I actually have nasturtiums in my, I have two Bring on the Pollinators seed collections. So if you're looking for seeds, pick up one of the pollinators. I have the cool season flowers, and I forgot to grab one of the warm season pollinator collections to bring out. But the nasturtiums are in the cool season pollinator collection. And the seeds are a lot of fun. I love seeds. I love the look of different colors of seeds. Let me just show you these seeds. They are pretty large seeds here. They're like little, they actually kind of look a little like chickpeas. So they're so easy to plant. You can direct seed these right in the garden. Now you can also start them from seed indoors, but they're so easy to grow outside. I've always just direct seeded them, but you can start them, I'd say probably 2 to 3 weeks before your last frost date, because they're gonna grow super fast, and then they'll be ready to plant in the garden as soon as the frost is passed. But all you have to do is just poke a little hole in the soil, plant these seeds about 1 inch deep, and they're a lot of fun because the variety I have growing right here behind me kind of trails. So it's a good thing to plant if you have walls that you want something to trail down, even if you have a ground cover. This one here is planted on in an elevated planter, so it kind of spills over the side, which I think looks really, really pretty. And I have a lot of other nasturtiums planted on my hillside garden right behind me to kind of spill over the stone walls. So I really love that, the look of that. It just gives a pop of green and pop of orange to the garden. So you might want to, they can trail off, so you could even plant them on a trellis. And you might want to keep them kind of trimmed because they can tend to trail. I don't have too many trailing right over here, but you can keep them trimmed kind of right at the bottom just to keep them under control so they don't completely overtake your garden bed. So just kind of keep your eye on that. But the wonderful thing about nasturtiums too is that they're edible. They do have a really zippy flavor. The flowers are edible, the leaves are edible, they're delicious in salads. So look at that leaf. Isn't that absolutely beautiful? And the flowers make such a beautiful topping for a salad. Now, I don't think the flowers taste like much, but they sure do. They're edible and they sure do make your salad absolutely delicious. And one other great thing about nasturtiums is, I told you guys I love these flowers, is that they reseed like crazy. So let me show you, there are some seed pods starting to develop here on the nasturtium plant. This is a little seed pod right here. It's still green, but what will happen is as the nasturtiums continue to grow, this green little seed pod will dry up and turn brown. It will look like this little seed right here, and it'll drop its seed, and the next growing season, the nasturtiums will continue to grow back. So if you want a super, super easy to flower to plant, I would highly, highly recommend nasturtiums, one of my very, very favorite. And again, if you need seeds, head over to my website, which is at CallieKimGardenandHome.com. Pick up this Bring on the Pollinators cool season flowers for I believe there's 6 cool season varieties that you can plant in the early spring. It's a really great collection, and it kind of takes the guesswork out of what flowers to purchase at the beginning of the season. So I hope you guys enjoyed the little tips there about nasturtiums, and I know there's a lot of questions and comments flying by. So let me head to the chat here and see what questions we have about nasturtiums or about anything else. So yeah, if you could please write question in front of your questions, that will help me find them quicker so I can answer them. Okay, Sherry, hi, how are you? And oh, Sherry, that's great. She's made a yogurt recipe, my yogurt recipe, and it turned out really well. That's great, Sherry. I love making homemade yogurt, and that video is several years old. And actually now, rather than make it in the crock pot, like is in that recipe, I like to make it in my Instant Pot, which is really, really easy too. So if you have an Instant Pot, it's a great way to make it, and even easier than the crock pot. Okay, let's see here. Any questions about nasturtiums? Containers always have to be fed with fertilizer. Okay. Oh, here's a question. Do they climb or just trail? Okay, if you have them on a trellis, you'll probably want to kind of direct them up the trellis. And as long as you're doing that and kind of staying on top of it, they will work their way up the trellis. So if you have them on a hillside like I do right here, or like right behind me, they will trail over the garden, this garden bed, or over the hillside. So it really just depends on where you have them planted, but definitely on a trellis, you're gonna wanna help guide them up. Okay, what are some good heat tolerant flowers? Texas summers get hot, as do our summers here in Southern California. I'm actually gonna talk about one of my very favorite heat-loving flowers at the end here. So hang on just a second with your question, and we'll give you a little more information about that. Okay, Christy, do they do well in pots? Yes, they do. I have some up on my deck in pots, and they're doing great because it's a little more shaded up there, but it's a really pretty flower to grow in a pot because it just kind of spills over the side. So again, you're going to want to kind of keep it trimmed because it can get out of control and probably kind of go over your whole patio area wherever you have your container. So as soon as it gets to the bottom of the container, you might want to just take your pruners or a pair of scissors and trim around the bottom, but it really, really looks beautiful in containers. The flowers just spill over and it makes that nice kind of spiller effect over the sides of your container. Okay, Tracy, I live in Las Vegas. Do you think those flowers will tolerate here? Tracy, they are cool weather flowers. So once you get super hot in Vegas, they're not going to do well. They're really early spring flowers or fall flowers, or for us here in California, and possibly for you there in Vegas, they do well in the winter time unless you get a frost. I did lose some. We had a couple light frosts, and I lost some to frosts. These back here, though, they actually were a little bit damaged, but they survived our frost. And I think it's because they were up against a stone wall and a fence. So they got a little more heat generated from that, so they were able to survive. The ones that were in the middle of my garden without a lot of protection, those did die. But they're definitely not a super heat tolerant flower. So you might be able to plant some now before it gets too hot, and they might do really well. Okay, one last leaf at a time. Question, do you have to wait until the nasturtium seed falls, or can you pick it as soon as it turns brown to save it for later planting? You absolutely can pick it and save it for later planting. As soon as it turns brown, they do tend to fall off pretty quickly. You'll notice as you're growing your nasturtiums and you lift up your vine here, you will notice a lot of brown seed pods just fall like crazy. So there's no way for me personally, I can even use them all. But you can definitely pick them out as soon as you see them turn brown, and then hang on to them until next year. Okay, good question, Sharon. I meant to mention that actually. What kind of fertilizer do they need? Are they heavy feeders? No, they are not heavy feeders. They really don't need any fertilizer at all. That's one of the things I love about them, is that they really thrive on poor soil and neglect. So you really can't beat it. They do need water, although they will take some drying out. But you don't really have to fertilize them. You don't have to have any great soil. You can pretty much just throw the seeds in any type of soil, and they're gonna grow for you as long as the temperature is right. Again, they're not gonna grow in super hot temps, but they're almost a no-brainer kind of flower, because you don't have to have anything great or anything special to grow them. Okay, so let's move on to our next flower. Another one of my favorites, and it's actually native here to California. And I'm sure those of you that live in California can guess, it's actually also our state flower, and that is the California poppy. So maybe some of you have heard about the poppy fields in California. It's a huge thing to go and visit those. And there's several nearby that you can go and visit. They're absolutely beautiful this year. We're having a super bloom this year because of all the rain. So they grow very easily, and I actually have some right up on my hill here. So I'm gonna try to move up there, and hopefully I don't lose connection, and show you some of the poppies, because they are absolutely stunning this year. And the poppies in my garden are just starting to bloom. So I'm super excited. They're a great early spring flower. They do best in the cool weather. So here's some beautiful orange poppies. They do come in a lot of different colors, but I primarily have orange ones here in my garden. So the cool thing about poppies, and here's Mac wandering his way through the live stream here in front of my poppies. But this makes me nervous. Callie camera guy, how come? But the cool thing is they open in the morning. Oh, here's my pollinator pack. I must have dropped it on my way down here. They open in the morning and they close up if it gets like really windy. These little flowers will close, or once the sun starts to go down, they close up just as kind of a protection. The other thing is that's really fun about poppies is that they also reseed every year. So once the flowers dry up, the seeds kind of fall out, and before you know it, you have poppies absolutely everywhere. So usually I have to pull out some poppies because I have so many of them. Once it's time to plant my vegetables, I have no space. So you can see there's poppies up there, all over the place. The poppies are starting to pop out. And the cool thing is, before the flowers bloom, the foliage is also really pretty as a kind of a filler plant. You can see it's kind of a silvery, sort of bluish color. But they are super easy to plant. And I'm gonna head back down here to my spot. I hope you guys got a good look at the poppies there. But the seeds are super tiny. Let me turn my camera around here. Here we go. The seeds are super tiny. I'll show you the seeds in just a moment here. You can, actually I've never started them indoors because they grow so easy from seed outdoors. In fact, I think I've only planted them up on the hill one time, and then they grew back every year. So let me show you the seeds here. Poppies are also in the cool weather, cool season flower pollinator collection. So you can pick that up if you want some poppy seeds. And these seeds are super tiny. Pour some into my hand. And what I like to do to plant these is just pour them into my hand and kind of put them in the crack of my fingers right here and just kind of broadcast them over the soil. You don't really have to, you know, put individual seeds in. I just kind of broadcast them like that, let the seeds kind of drop through the cracks of my fingers and spread them over the area where I want to plant them early in the spring. And they will grow like crazy and they will reseed in your garden every year. So if you guys want another super easy spring flower to plant, I would highly recommend poppies. They come in all kinds of different colors. They usually grow about maybe a foot or so tall, and they're really fun, beautiful flower to plant. So let me see if I want to say anything else about poppies. Oh, they're also, I might have mentioned this already, they're also a cool season flower. So once the weather hits maybe 75 or 80, they are gonna kind of dry up, so don't be worried when you see that happen. What I like to do is just cut them off at the base. Sometimes, once they get really dry, I'll cut them off at the base. Sometimes you'll even get a second wave of poppies in your garden. So I don't usually like to pull them up unless they're really brown, because I like them to regrow and provide some other beautiful foliage. So they should be planted in full sun in the spring. They can also do part shade, but you're going to get more blooms if you plant them in the full sun. Okay, so let me head to the chat here, guys. Hope you enjoyed the information about poppies. I love them. They're absolutely beautiful. They give you that bright pop of color, and they're going to bring in the bees and the pollinators like crazy. And it's really fun out in our garden right now. We can see a lot of butterflies, especially the hummingbirds have been coming in. It's really fun to watch them fly around and enjoy the flowers just like we are. Okay, Darlene, glad to hear that your poppies are prolific. They're so easy to grow, aren't they? It's just such a ball. Okay, Ashley, are there any veggies that don't like nasturtiums or poppies? Not too sure. Oh, you mean like to plant next to each other? I really haven't found that to be the case. I haven't done a lot of reading or research on that, but I plant them everywhere. I'm not too discriminating about where I plant my flowers, what flowers I plant near my veggies, and so far, so good with that. Okay, I gotta eat one today. What, a nasturtium, camera guy? Is that what you're telling me I gotta eat? Should I eat a flower or a leaf? Okay, let me see. Maybe I'll try the leaf first. Guys, these are really zippy. They're really fun to add into your salad, because they really add a nice zippy flavor to your salad. So sometimes it might take a little bit of time for you to get used to it, but they are absolutely delicious. And the flower is good too. Oh my goodness, so good. Actually, this flower has quite a bit of zip to it. But you guys have to make a salad and throw some of those flowers on top. They're super good. In fact, in a few weeks for Easter, of course, I always bring the salad for our Easter family gathering, and I'll make probably a kale salad and put some nasturtiums on top, and everybody just rants and raves about it. Okay, guys, any questions here about nasturtiums or poppies? Okay, Lindsay West. I'm from Alaska, and I've always grown just vegetables. I'm looking to start growing either very fragrant flowers or ones that attract hummingbirds or butterflies. Any variety suggestions? Absolutely. The two I just talked about, nasturtiums and poppies, are great ones, and those would be good for you in Alaska because they are cool season flowers. And I'm imagining your summers don't get too terribly hot up there in Alaska. A couple of others from my Bring on the Pollinators cool season flowers that you might want to plant. Let me just open these up here. We've got the poppies in here. The Chinese forget-me-nots are a nice cool season flower. All of these bring in the pollinators. That's why I designed the seed collection, to bring in the pollinators. These are a beautiful kind of purplish flower that are great for, would be great for Alaska. Alyssum is a wonderful cool season flower as well. It's a really delicate, kind of whitish flower. a little bit shorter, so it's great for edging your garden beds. The bees absolutely love these, so these are a great pollinator. Dianthus are also one of my favorite, also a lower good edging flower, easy to grow, and again, the pollinators, butterflies, love them too. One of my very favorites, I have so many favorites, but this one I absolutely love too, is calendula. It's a taller flower, but it's brilliant orange, and it would be a great flower for you to grow in your Alaska garden as well. And then of course the nasturtiums, which I have growing right here behind me. So in Alaska, the nasturtiums probably most likely will last you all season long, because it probably doesn't get much above 80 degrees there in the summertime, I'm thinking. Okay, let's move on here to my third favorite flower, super easy to grow. And this one is a warm season flower, and that is sunflowers. Absolutely love sunflowers. They add such a huge color splash to the garden. They come in so many different colors, so many different sizes and shapes. And you really want to get sunflowers planted after your last frost date, probably even a couple of weeks after your last frost date. They are the classic summer flower. Absolutely love the hot summers, love full-on sun, and there's all kinds of different varieties of sunflowers out there. I do have a Bring on the Sun or sunflower seed collection with 5 different varieties. There's some taller varieties in there, some branching varieties, which you've probably seen that grow off kind of like this. Lots of different sunflowers you can use for cut flowers. There's a new variety in there that I just started curing this year called the black oil sunflower, I believe that's called. And let me show you these. That's in the kids seed collection and the sunflower collection. These seeds are nice and big. This is a large sunflower. It's probably about 7 to 9 feet. So if you want a big sunflower, this is the one for you. And this one actually does have the sunflower seeds that you can harvest and eat. And these grow great from seed right into your garden bed, or you can also start them from seed indoors, which I like to do because then as soon as the weather's warm enough, you have little small sunflower transplants that you can get in your garden and get them planted just as soon as possible. Now, the fun thing about sunflowers is if you plant the ones with seeds that actually develop the seeds that you can bring in and eat, you also can grow them for food. And the birds do love them, but it is one way that you can keep the birds away from some of your other crops, is plant sunflowers, and then they'll come in and eat the sunflower seeds and peck at the sunflowers rather than pecking at your tomatoes or your other vegetables. So absolutely love sunflowers. I don't have any growing right now because it has not been warm enough yet for them to grow. I might have a couple volunteers sprouting here and there, and I do have actually an old sunflower stalk. I don't know if you guys can see that over against that trellis there. And I was kind of leaving it in because I'll probably plant something underneath it that can kind of trellis its way up. I like to use them as trellises too. So the other thing is it's kind of nice about sunflowers is you can use them as shade for other vegetables, like maybe your beans, your lettuce. Cucumbers oftentimes like afternoon shade. They get a little bit too hot, and you can plant them in an area where they might shade some of your other vegetables that are a little bit more heat sensitive. But really the classic summer flower, and I know a lot of you enjoy growing them as well. So Nikki, I know the squirrels do love them too, and if that's something you're concerned about, then don't plant the ones that develop seeds that you can eat. So the squirrels seem to leave the ones alone that don't have the seeds in them. They're just grown for the flowers. So give that a try, and hopefully that'll work for you. Hi Rod, how are you? Well, I've grown sunflowers for many years that don't develop the seeds in the center that are large seeds that you can harvest. They're seeds that you might harvest to replant, but they don't really develop the large seeds that you can harvest and eat. So that seems to have taken care of the squirrels pretty well. Okay, hi Ruth. I live in zone 9, which is the same zone I live in. Can I plant the sunflowers now? Well, take a look at your weather. And if you're still having nights, like I know for us here, we're still having nights in the 40s. I could plant out my seeds now, but they probably won't sprout much until the nights get a little bit warmer in the 50s. So definitely give it a try. But what I'm going to plan on doing this week is actually getting some seeds started inside, and they'll grow a lot faster inside where it's a little bit warmer or a lot warmer. And then in a couple of weeks, so they don't take long to grow from seed indoors, you'll have transplants to plant out in your garden. And I did see a comment in here that they don't like to have the roots disturbed. That's absolutely true, but you still can plant them indoors. Just be careful when you transplant them that you're not you know, disturbing their roots too much. But I've grown them, started them from seed indoors for years and successfully transplanted them outside for years, and they've done just fine. Okay, Garden Greg SB. Sunflowers, an all-time favorite. Yes, I totally agree with you. What's your advice on starting indoors? When do I plant out? They seem to be stunted in growth. Maybe I keep them in starts too long. Okay, yes, they will need to be planted outdoors. You will want to time your planting to start your seeds indoors just about 2 weeks, 2 to maybe 3 weeks. 3 weeks is probably pushing it though. From the point that you can get them planted outside. So they like warm soil. You want to plant them again when the nighttime temperatures are in the 50s and daytime temperatures in the 70s to 80s. They will take hot weather too into the 90s. So try and time them, starting them indoors about 2 to 3 weeks before you're going to plant them outside. And then get them outside before they outgrow their containers so that, so that the roots aren't stunted. Okay, a couple more questions here, guys, before we sign off. I hope you enjoyed the flowers today, the nasturtiums, the poppies, the sunflowers. I hope you're able to get some planted out in your garden very soon to bring in the pollinators. I meant to mention too, the warm season flowers. I know someone else had asked a question about that. And I do have my Bring on the Pollinators warm season flowers, which have flowers that are more suited to growing in hot temperatures. So let me just pull these seed packets out and talk about some of my favorite warm season flowers. So these seed collections, guys, I designed especially for people who are maybe brand new, not knowing exactly what to grow. So it really takes the guesswork out of it, or people that are busy and don't want to have to search around and purchase different packets. They're all designed based on the growing season or the type of vegetable or flower. So these are all the warm season flowers that are my favorites. The Cosmos Bright Lights Mix. If any of you have ever grown Cosmos, you know they're a really heat-loving flower, very drought tolerant, very hardy, super, super easy to grow. And again, they do reseed year after year as well. And let's see, Love just mentioned she's in love with Cosmos and zinnias. Yes, they are absolutely beautiful. In fact, I do have zinnias in here too. This is a zinnia cut and come again mix. So it's a beautiful, beautiful cut flower. And then once you cut the zinnias, this particular variety, they will grow back. Well, actually a lot of zinnias do that. They'll grow back. You want to keep them, the dead heads pinched, and then bring them into the house, and they're absolutely stunning centerpiece. And actually, funny enough, Nikki, that's the next flower that is super easy to grow is borage. And I think I do have some growing here right behind me. It's just starting to bloom. You guys might see that. Where is it? Right there. It's a beautiful blue flower. It's actually an herb. And the bees absolutely love borage. They love purple flowers in general, but they flock to the borage. And borage, once you plant it one time, at least here in California, I think I've planted it one time probably 7 or 8 years ago, and I've never had to plant it again. It reseeds, it grows like crazy. You can cut it back, it'll grow back. You can pull it out, it'll grow back. It's a beautiful, beautiful flower, and the pollinators absolutely love it. So borage is another great warm season flower. One of my favorites is always wildflowers. I always love to sprinkle a whole bunch of wildflower seeds. It's a great way to get some flowers started very early, and you require very, very little maintenance or care. The Black-Eyed Susans are kind of a classic warm weather flower. You can get the vining kind. I believe these are, they're a perennial also, which means they'll come back year after year. These, I believe, are not the vining kind. I think they're a little bit shorter variety. And then, oh, I already talked about the borage. So yeah, learn to grow. Hi, how are you? The borage, yes, is also an edible flower, and it tastes like cucumber. The leaves are a little bit prickly, but oh, a butterfly just flew by. But they're a beautiful flower to decorate with as well, because the flowers are so pretty and so tiny. You can put them on your salads, put them on top of cakes, and they're a really pretty flower to decorate with as well. Is borage a perennial? I don't believe, Sharon, it's officially a perennial, but in California here, because our winters are so mild, they reseed very easily. So I don't think it's a perennial. Maybe someone else can fill me in on that. Okay, Herman, can they grow in colder Scandinavian weather? Borage is really a warm weather flower, so it will be one of those flowers that will sprout as soon as the weather gets warm enough, but it's not going to be, excuse me, it won't be a flower that will last. I have that nasturtium flower stuck in my throat. It's not going to be a flower that you're going to be able to grow in the wintertime. Okay, guys, let's see. Oh, Cedarholic Gardens. Oh, I love your name. That's great. Might as well be. It reseeds ridiculously here in Chicago. That's great to know. I love to hear how things grow in different seasons, different growing conditions, especially in Chicago, which I know has super, super cold winters. So if the Chicago winter doesn't kill off the seeds, then it might as well be a perennial, right? Okay, Neha, hi, how are you doing? I thought almost everything grows between 70s and 80s. That's really the ideal temperature. So all of these flowers I mentioned today will do really well in between 70s and 80s. Some, of course, will do better once the temperature gets over 80 degrees. And the cool season flowers, just don't last into the summer here in California. Okay, Rod, marigolds, absolutely. Marigolds is another flower that is super easy to grow. It's also a good pest deterrent. So if you want an easy flower, you can grow it from seed right in your garden beds, start seeds indoors. Marigolds is really another one of those workhorse flowers that everyone should have in their garden, because it's an amazing flower, and the smell of it really deters some of the insects that you don't want in your garden. Okay, hello from Boone, North Carolina. Hi, how are you? Gotta go. Nice to have you here. Okay, guys, we're going to go with one other question, and then we're going to sign off for the day. What a fun live stream talking about flowers. Let's see here. Learn to Grow. Yes, check out Learn to Grow's channel. Thank you. Oh, you're referring to the nasturtiums. Okay, Cedarholic. Yeah, it's a crazy easy flower to grow as well. Okay, let's see here. Any other questions? Don't see. Oh, any advice on growing amaranth? I've grown amaranth, I believe, once or twice. A few years back, it grew very easily here in California. In Denmark, comparable to U.S. Zone 8B, you should be able to grow it in warmer weather there in Denmark as well. Okay, not seeing any other questions here, guys. Are marigolds cut and come again? From Melissa. Yes, they are. You definitely want to pull off the spent blooms on marigolds. They will grow all summer long until they're taken by the frost in the fall. Again, they're a workhorse flower. So keep them deadheaded, and you're going to have marigolds for months and months and months. Okay, guys, it's been a lot of fun hanging out here with you guys talking about flowers. Please head to my website, pick up either my Pollinators Warm Season Collection, the sunflowers, which you're absolutely going to love. This even has a dwarf variety sunflower called the Teddy Bear, which is a small, maybe foot-tall sunflower, which is a lot of fun to grow, and then 4 other varieties. And also my Bring on the Pollinators Cool Season Flowers if you want some super-duper easy spring flowers to start. So guys, thanks so much for joining me. Make sure you join us for this weekend's video, and come back next Monday at the same time, noon Pacific time. We'll be live streaming again, hopefully from the garden again. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.